you know, the hell with the change orders. This isn't the first time we have had struggles as a country getting ships built as of challenges with meeting the specifications that change from time to time. You know, get the things finished, and then we'll dry dock them at a later date to get the things done that you want to get done. Thank you for your time.
Gentleman yields back. We're now going to reset. I thank the witnesses. You guys did a phenomenal job. Thank you for being here and highlighting something that is so important. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your hard work for this great nation. We're going to recess briefly to reset the table with our next panel of witnesses, and we'll start back as soon as the table's set. With that, we're in recess. Thank the witnesses for being so patient, and we wanted to have y'all all on one panel, but we couldn't do that. I thank y'all for waiting patiently. We had votes and everything else in between, but I thank y'all. And with that, Dr. Eric Labs is a senior analyst for Naval Forces and Weapons at the Congressional Budget Office. Dr. Labs, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Edsel, Chairman Kelly, Representative Carbajal, and Representative Courtney, members of the subcommittees. Thank you for inviting me to discuss the state of shipbuilding and the maritime industrial base. I would like to submit my statement for the record and emphasize a few key points. For more than 20 years, the Navy has endeavored to build a larger fleet. In that time, the Navy's goals have ranged from 306 to most recently 381 ships. As a result, every Navy 30-year shipbuilding plan since at least 2011 has proposed building a larger fleet by purchasing more ships and sometimes by extending the life of existing ships. Yet the Navy has not increased the fleet nearly as much as it has hoped, and the ships it buys are getting more expensive. The reasons for that are varied. 20 years ago, during the global war on terror, the Navy did not receive as much funding as it needed to build a much larger fleet. More recently, the challenge lies more with the services and the industry's inability to build ships in a timely manner. In the face of the headwinds of COVID and the decline of interest in manufacturing jobs, the Navy progressively increased the demand for naval tonnage. Between 2014 and 2024, the amount of naval tonnage under construction rose by 80%. That growth required a substantial increase in shipyard labor, and the shipbuilders were not able to keep up. Ships now take a lot longer to build. Destroyers and amphibious ships used to take 5 years to build. Yesterday's 2027 budget materials now show 11 years for destroyers and 10 years for amphibious assault ships, not the 9 years I show in the written statement. In the 2000s, attack submarines took 6 years to build. Now they take 10, which is also an increase from last year. The services and industry are working hard on this, but we have not turned the corner yet. As of this past November, attack submarine production has averaged 1.1 boats per year for the past 2 years. The result is a fleet that is much smaller than it otherwise would have been. Between 2019 and 2040, the Navy lost and will lose 234 ship service years from ships that should have been commissioned but were not. In the critical period from 2026 to 2030, the fleet will be smaller by an average of 20 ships, mostly a loss of attack submarines and destroyers. Under the Navy's 2025 shipbuilding plan, the demand for naval tonnage would continue. Between now and 2034, the average amount of tonnage under construction would increase by another 45%. The Trump administration has not released its long-term shipbuilding plan yet, but the FY 2027 budget request and FYDP indicates an aggressive effort to build up the fleet and promises even more tonnage. Based on what we know so far, the cancellation of the Constellation-class frigate and the inauguration of the FFX program could be beneficial to the industrial base over the long term. Conversely, the new battleship program, regardless of its programmatic merits, would represent a substantial additional burden to the industrial base. When I testified last spring before Chairman Kelly's subcommittee, I stated then that, in my view, nothing is more important than addressing the critical labor shortages that afflict all of the shipbuilding and public maintenance yards. For years, recruitment and retention at all the major shipyards has been difficult. However, efforts to increase pay and improve working conditions are having some positive effects. Ingalls has signed a new 5-year labor agreement that will increase pay between 40% and 45% over 5 years. Ingalls' voluntary attrition has fallen to around 15% before those pay increases had taken effect, although overall attrition still remains stubbornly high. Pay increases at Bath and Electric Boat have seen voluntary attrition fall below 10%, such that its workforce is now gaining experience. As the services think about their future fleet, the need for highly skilled labor in the industrial base should be a paramount consideration in the service's long-term shipbuilding plans. The Navy would be smart to structure those plans in ways that preserve the labor forces in the industrial base. It should feather in new ship designs or larger quantities so as to keep perturbations to the workforces to the barest minimum. That is a critical lesson learned from the last 20 years of naval shipbuilding challenges. Continuing a theme I discussed last year, any policy that improves the labor situation is worth considering, including raising wages, improving benefits and quality of life, automation, and even tax benefits. For example, if the federal government were to give a large tax exemption to shipyard workers, that would be a way to effectively increase wages without disrupting shipbuilding contracts or contract negotiations. In this modern economy, where manufacturing represents only 10% of the gross domestic product, which is down from 20% in 1980, skillful management of labor in the maritime and industrial base will be a central and ongoing challenge. I would like to close by repeating what I said last year. It has taken us a long time to get into this situation, and it's going to take a long time to get out of it. It will take a lot of hard work, time, and money to solve. 1 year later, while there are a few encouraging indicators of improvement, that still remains true. And right now, I fear we are adding more challenges faster than we are fixing them. Thank you, and I would be happy to respond to any questions the subcommittee might have.
I thank you, Dr. Labs. I now recognize Ms. Shelby Oakley. She is the Director of Contracting and National Security Acquisitions for the Government Accountability Office. Ms. Oakley, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Kelly, Ranking Members Courtney and Carbajal, and Ms. Elfreth. Thank you for having me here today to speak with you. I look forward to discussing our work on Navy and Coast Guard shipbuilding. Working closely with both services gives me a broad perspective on the shipbuilding challenges that are facing our nation. Investment and focus on the maritime industrial base are at levels we haven't seen in decades. The Navy and the Coast Guard have received historic funding increases, and the proposed SHIPS Act and Administration's Maritime Action Plan both underscore a renewed national focus on shipbuilding capacity. That creates a real opportunity, but it also raises the stakes. Many of the same issues that have affected shipbuilding programs for nearly 2 decades haven't gone away, and in some cases have gotten worse. Increased funding alone won't deliver better outcomes if those aren't addressed. Over the past 10 years, we've made 137 recommendations to help address these challenges. Since I testified before HASC last year and highlighted 52 open Navy shipbuilding recommendations, I have been encouraged to see the Navy taking steps to implement more of them. We're also seeing progress at the Coast Guard. For example, efforts to reduce design construction risk in the Waterways Cutter program have been commendable. That said, significant challenges remain. Let me focus on